Howdy folks, and welcome to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making what is, according to my youngest daughter Melinda, the world's best oatmeal raisin cookies. Now, if you're not a fan of raisins, don't turn this video off because there are a lot of options for the raisins. You can use any dried fruit. Cranberries make a good alternative, and this is a great recipe for a healthy version of a chocolate chip cookie. You can use all these ingredients, and instead of the raisins, use 2 cups of chocolate chips. Of course, chocolate chips are not nearly as healthy as raisin, and the raisins in these cookies are just delicious. So I always make them with raisins. I have done the other stuff, but as a general rule, this is my oatmeal raisin cookie. So you do have raisins in them, 2.5 cups. That's a 15-ounce box. We're using the whole box, and these used to be a 16-ounce box. We have a stick of butter. That's 1/2 cup. A 1/2 cup of applesauce, and 1/2 cup of ground flaxseed. These are going to make these cookies really moist, and they're going to add some sweetness to them other than just what you get from the sugar. We have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup of regular sugar, and about 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. We have 3.5 cups of oatmeal. Now, it doesn't matter if you use Quick Cook or the old-fashioned rolled oats. Makes no difference. I think these are actually Quick Cook. That's just what I had. We have 2 eggs. I have a heaping tablespoon of cinnamon, and you can adjust that to suit your taste. I like a lot. You can cut it all the way back to a teaspoon or even take it out, but it's seriously going to change the cookies. And I have about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and I also have 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now, these are going to make a really thick, fluffy, cake-like cookie. If you like a flat cookie, cut this baking soda back to about 1/2 teaspoon, and that'll give you a much thinner, much flatter cookie. Now, I'm going to start mixing these in my stand mixer, and we will have to add the raisins and the oatmeal and hand mix that. But you can cream this stuff much better with a mixer. You can, of course, mix them by hand. It's just easier to use a mixer. But I'm going to go ahead and add that cinnamon and this baking soda to my flour so that I don't spill it on the way over to the mixer. Also, that'll kind of help keep the cinnamon from blowing everywhere when we hit it with the mixer, because it will. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and dump my vanilla in my eggs just to make it easier to carry. That you certainly don't have to do. But we're going to go over to the stand mixer and start with the eggs and vanilla. And I just want to kind of turn this medium-low to start. And I'm going to add my sugar next, my brown sugar and my white sugar. I've had this butter sitting out of the refrigerator for a while, so it's kind of soft. You don't have to melt it, but you do want it soft enough to mix. So I'm going to add that in. And I'm going to go ahead and add my applesauce and my flaxseed. And besides adding moisture to baked goods, flaxseed is really, really good for you. So it adds some extra nutrition to a cookie, and it's not something that you're even going to notice is in there. Okay, before I add my flour, I want to scrape the sides of my bowl because I've got butter and flaxseed and applesauce all over it. Kind of scrape my paddle off just a little bit too. Now this is my flour and my cinnamon and my baking soda. Okay, I want to start this on low and then turn it up just a little bit once my flour starts to get mixed in. Okay, I'm going to scrape the sides of my bowl again, and then I'm going to turn it up a little bit and really cream it all together good. Okay, now we're just going to take this back over here and we're going to add in our oatmeal and our raisins, and you can dump these in here all at once, both the oatmeal and the raisins, because it's not going to take you any longer to mix it if you put them all in at once, and it's actually going to save you time instead of trying to mix them both up separate. And I usually take my hands and bust up these raisins just a little bit and mix them in with the oatmeal when it kind of coat them, because that makes them mix in the cookie dough easier. Be careful when you're doing this though, because you don't want to dig all the way down into the cookie dough and have cookie dough all over your hands. Just like that. You can see the oatmeal kind of coats the raisins, and that'll keep them from sticking together and make them easier to mix in. And I just use a regular spoon. Pick you one with a good stiff handle, and it just takes a minute to mix it in there. Now this is a scooped cookie. We're going to scoop this out with a cookie scooper, or you could spoon it out and put it on the pan. So we're going to put these in the refrigerator, or this dough in the refrigerator, for about an hour before we start to bake it. And you can use an airtight bowl or a Ziploc bag. I use a Ziploc bag around Christmas time and stuff because I keep cookie dough in the refrigerator all through the holidays and bake it up when people come over. But these I also bake up when we're going to eat them. I'm not going to bake this whole batch at once because this will make like 6 dozen cookies, and who wants 6 dozen cookies that are a week old when you can have 6 dozen cookies that come right out of the refrigerator? So just put this in an airtight container and you can keep it in your refrigerator for 2, maybe 3 weeks. Remember, it does have eggs in it, so you don't want to keep it for a real long time. Make sure you get down in the bottom good. Now I'm just going to dump them in my bowl and put them in the refrigerator. I'm sure there's some really detailed explanation that somebody could give as to why you want to put your cookie dough in the refrigerator for a while before you bake it. I don't know what that explanation is, that long, detailed, scientific explanation, and it really don't matter. But if you like thick, fluffy cookies, put your refrigerator, or your cookie dough in the refrigerator for at least an hour. If you want to make the flat cookies like I was talking about earlier, where you cut the baking soda, it probably is not necessary, but even with those, I think they come out better if you put the dough in the refrigerator for a little while. It changes it when it has a chance to rest for a while, I guess similar to letting bread dough rise or something, because cookies are bread. I'm sure it's that same process, but they just come out better, they taste better, they bake more evenly. And put them in the fridge and let them rest. Okay, so we'll be back in an hour and scoop some of these onto a pan and bake them at 350 for about 15-16 minutes. Okay, our cookies have had about an hour in the fridge to chill and firm up and to rest. Now I'm going to use a cookie scooper to get them out of here, and you do want a really good non-stick cookie sheet to bake these on. And if you have parchment paper, definitely use parchment paper for these, because when the raisins cook, the juice comes out and it will make a mess on your cookie sheet. It's not so hard to clean up if you have a good non-stick one, but it's even easier to clean up if you use the parchment paper. You want to fill your cookie scooper full, maybe even a little bit bigger. And if you don't want to use your fingers at all, you're going to need a spoon. I usually just use my fingers, because after a couple of cookies, they're going to start to stick. And if you're going to bake some of this now and then save some of it for later, you do want to be aware that when you take it out of the fridge in 2 or 3 days or even a week, it's going to be much stiffer and it's going to be harder to scoop. So if you're going to bake them days from now, you know, another pan full, so you've got fresh cookies, you might want to sit your cookie dough out of the fridge for 5 or 10 minutes before you start to scoop it. That'll help. It'll still be stiffer than it is now, but sitting it out for a few minutes will help. Let's get this oven preheating to 350. And like I said, it's going to take us some. You want these to get a little bit brown, and you might say they're already brown from the cinnamon, so how do you tell? But you can tell it's a different brown. You want these to get a little bit brown, and if you touch them, they'll be firm. And it'll take 15-16 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. It depends on how big you make them. Now, I'm making these pretty big. If you make them a little smaller, of course it won't take as long, and if you make yours bigger, it'll take even longer. But these, I'm guessing, about 16 minutes. And you don't need to worry about these spreading out. You can put them pretty close together. You want to leave, you know, maybe an inch between them, just so so the air can circulate around them and they can get done. But they're not going to spread out much. They're going to rise up a little bit, which will cause them to spread out a little bit, but they're not going to do like a chocolate chip cookie and spread across your pan. So you can actually get more than a dozen on a pan. And I probably could have squeezed these a little closer together and gotten 4 in each one of these rows if I really wanted to bake a lot of them at once. I'm sure my oven is pretty close, so I'm going to go ahead and put these in, and I'm going to turn my timer on for 16 minutes because I bake these quite often, and I'm pretty sure this batch will take about 16 minutes just based on how big they are. I think about another minute. They're pretty firm and they're starting to brown, but a couple of them have cracked just a little bit, and where they cracked, it looks a little bit moist. So I'm going to give them about 1 more minute to make sure they're done on the inside, because I don't want them raw in the middle. While we're waiting, I really want to apologize because I've gotten behind on my comments. Not only have I had this summer cold that caused me to get laryngitis, and I didn't get any videos up, but my very abundant life has gotten even more abundant, and there's been so much stuff going on here. I have just gotten behind on everything, but I promise you I will get every single comment answered. And I've also had some people, I really keep an eye on the channel, or I try to, and because we say we are Christians, and because sometimes we state political views and things like that, we get some really nasty comments from time to time. And I really try to keep an eye on that stuff, because some of those mean people attack our subscribers and other people who have commented. Now, if you're one of those mean people who want to say something mean to somebody, I could care less if you say something mean to me, but treat my subscribers and the people who comment on my channel with some respect. This is not your channel, it is mine. And if somebody does something like that, I will get it off of there as quickly as possible. There was an incident that happened almost a month ago that somehow got past me. I did not find it till just a few days ago, and I deleted the person, blocked the person, deleted their comments. But I hate that stuff like that happens. I do try to stay on top of it, and I do try to keep that stuff off of there. And like I said, I really try hard to answer every comment, and I try to answer them all really quick. But I've gotten behind because there has just been so much stuff going on here. So I apologize for that. I will get back to those, and I will get those answered. And we're really going to try hard to get up videos on a more regular basis. The fact that I couldn't talk for over 3 weeks put a real stick in the spokes, and I hope before I do the next video you don't have to listen to this frog voice. But let's check these cookies now. Oh yeah, those look good. You can see they're all really brown, and if you touch them, they're firm to the touch. Cut this oven off, it's really hot today. Now, when I bake cookies in the summertime, I usually put them in the oven first thing in the morning before the house has time to get hot, or I will wait until really late in the evening and I'll put them in so it doesn't heat the house up as bad. And these cookies too, I'll eat them a lot of times for breakfast. They're way better for you than any of those store-bought breakfast bars or prepackaged bars or anything like that, the meal bars. And they do fill you up. Now, you want to let these cool enough that the raisins aren't so hot that they will make blisters in your mouth, because those raisins really do hold the heat, and they will be so hot that they will cause you to get blisters. So let these cool for probably 10 minutes. If you're going to be serving them to little kids, let them cool even longer than that. Like if I was going to give one to Charlotte, I would let it completely cool. But they're delicious warm still. So adults, about 10 minutes. You don't want blisters from those raisins. I said if you're not a fan of the raisins, you can substitute cranberries or any other dried fruit. And you can even use this recipe to make a healthy chocolate chip cookie. And I am going to do a healthy version of a chocolate chip cookie, but I want to get a more variety of videos before we do that, because you can just substitute chocolate chips in this. And you can even make these healthier by substituting coconut oil or grapeseed oil for the butter. You can use a little less sugar and a little more applesauce. They'll still come out just fine. You can use stuff like stevia to sweeten them instead of sugar, or you can use less sugar and use honey. Like cut that sugar way back and put in a cup of honey, or cut the sugar totally out and put in a cup of honey. But honey would sweeten these wonderfully, and it's much healthier than sugar. So if you're looking for something really, really healthy, try those substitutes in the recipe. This is just kind of my standard recipe. I always use some applesauce. I always use the flaxseed, but those are optional. You cannot use those. And if you're looking for something healthier, sweetened with the honey, the stevia, more applesauce, substitute the butter for the grapeseed oil or coconut oil. But we appreciate you joining us in the Hillbilly Kitchen, and I hope you enjoy these oatmeal raisin cookies as much as Melinda does. This video is just for you, Melinda. I love you. Call your mommy. Until next time, if you're not subscribed to us, please click like and subscribe. And remember to keep God first.